Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to This Is What It Takes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Mackniak, and I'm here as usual with my sidekick, Victoria Cuore. Say hello, Victoria.
Doesn't he just sound so excited when he mentions me? He's like, "Ugh.
So say hello, Victoria.
Hello, Michael."
Oh, that's nice. So we here at This Is What It Takes podcast try to give people real-time answers to real-time questions and that are going on in their real lives instead of having folks try to Google things to death or come up with some kind of esoteric BS answer to real life problems. Hopefully with our experiences and our advocacy work, we can give people a hand and try to help them out. Obviously, now I'm a lawyer, but here I don't pretend to be one, and I don't try to give legal advice. And Victoria isn't giving any legal advice based on her crackerjack degrees and things like that, right, Victoria?
Wow. Do you hear this? And I was going to congratulate him on sharing my Evergreen Award this morning that we were awarded. Wow, that's just something special right there. Thanks so much.
Wait, so talk more about this.
Oh, now you want to talk about it because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
getting
yeah. If it has to
recognized.
do
You're
with
getting
me and,
recognized.
and an
Well,
award,
first of all, I want to send our condolences to Jessie, who was on our one of our podcasts a couple weeks ago. Her daughter was found deceased in her apartment in Canada from an overdose. And so I want us to send our deepest condolences to Jessie and her family.
yeah, Jesse, Victoria told me about this yesterday. We're really sorry to hear that from you and from everybody at Care Coalition. Obviously, our hearts go out to you and the realities of mental health and addiction and all that. It hits very close to home, folks. When the statistics now say that 1 in 4 people struggles with some form of mental illness, and the average American family is 4 people, 4 point something people. You don't have to be a whiz kid in math to figure out that that means everybody, every family is impacted. And Jessie told us her story here, and it wasn't that long ago, just a few weeks ago. So
Go check out that story and give her her support. She's been clean for 17 years, bless her heart for that. And then she just gets this notification that her daughter died of an overdose. So our
yeah.
hearts go out to her, and we are so sorry for her loss. We, I was reached out by the Evergreen Company, the award group, if you will, and they give us the Evergreen Mental Health Canopy Award, which is one of their largest and most prestigious awards for the work that is done with transformation partnership with Care Coalition. And the article is beautiful. I don't want to take up our time with Daniel to read it. Maybe we'll read the article at the end, but it's very prestigious and we are very humbled by it. We are very honored to carry that award. This is my third Evergreen Award. This is his first. So I'll share the limelight with my Cracker Jack
hmm
friends.
I'm just a poor country lawyer, so getting awards is a big deal to me. So I appreciate it to the Evergreen folks, and yeah, it's
That's your first. You got an Insider Weekly Best of the Best with me a few months ago.
I did, but I'm saying for Evergreen.
That's your first,
This
right?
is
You got your cherry popped. Okay, so we're here with Daniel.
Yes, Daniel Coulter is back, everybody. Daniel was on our show a month ago or so, somewhere in there, and had a really interesting conversation about a real disastrous situation that he wound up in. So, Daniel, how you doing? Welcome back, man.
Yes, heavy and consistently work.
You got problems with your microphone.
Yeah, your speaker made very weird for just a second while you're trying to fix that. Daniel has a horrific story, but a courageous story. He's done some amazing, amazing things, and I'm in awe of what he has done, and he has not backed down, and I'm so proud of him for that. See if your mic is any better now. No.
No, you could try logging out and logging back in, and we'll hold the fire in the meantime if you need to. But we will just recap for those who don't or didn't catch the episode. Daniel found himself in a relationship with a truly in the true definition of a narcissistic personality individual who really did some damage to him psychologically and financially and emotionally, etc., not to mention physically. And it took all he could to pull, first of all, research, find out what the hell was going on because he knew something wasn't right in this relationship in the way that he was being treated, but also to come back around and to, get himself into a place where he was strong enough to push back, to learn, pick himself up, and to reinvent himself. And it was an inspiring podcast episode. And we have Dan's back. Can you hear us now, Daniel?
I can hear you guys. Is it better?
Yes.
Much better.
Okay, good.
And
Well,
since
I was trying to trip my way through your story as best I could, but why don't you just give folks, a little an overview of your story so that we have a leaping off point for those who haven't heard you or about you to this point. And by the way, tell about some of the work that you've done
since then.
since then, because it's pretty impressive and worthy of an Evergreen Award and an Insider Weekly Award and all this other good stuff as well.
Well, first off, I started the Heal Loudly movement, and it wasn't anything that I ever kind of expected to start. Everything kind of just fell into place. I think that's the way the universe is sometimes. You're not quite sure where it's going, but it leads to, where we're at now. And it all just started by trying to survive, being in a relationship with someone that shows a lot of narcissistic qualities and sociopathic qualities. And like so many other people out there, when I got together with them, I thought I found everything that I wanted in life. And in a short 9 months, completely dismantled my life and, pretty much had to lose everything. But what I lost compared to what I gained is just, there's no comparison, because I want to change anything. But the main part of the relationship that I want people to understand about narcissistic abuse and a lot of other just, psychologically abusive relationships, just because you break up with somebody and you separate from them, that doesn't mean the abuse is over. Oftentimes it's when the abuse escalates, and the most dangerous time in a relationship is, at that breakup. So the post-separation abuse that so many victims go through is just another part of the story of the abuse, because you have the abuse itself, you have the breakup that you're dealing with, you have all the institutions that are supposed to protect you that all too often fail survivors, and then you have the legal system that gets used against people. And we're fighting our trauma responses, people's perceptions, smear campaigns. So it's quite a battle afterwards. But the Heal Loudly movement is there for people to speak up and speak their experiences, because this abuse specifically thrives in silence. Our abusers are hoping that we stay silent. Our abusers are hoping that the smear campaign works and we get discredited. And it's important for other survivors to speak up, because somewhere out there, somebody else is going through it and they have no idea what's going on. So you're going to be that puzzle piece that kind of helps them. But we also wrote the Voiceless Justice Act and the Frankie Initiative, which is 2 pieces of legislation you can find at change.org. And it's designed to help, fix a lot of these issues that survivors are going through. So, we're working on peer support for that to try to get people to come in, validate it, kind of pick it apart, put it back together, and hopefully one day a version of that bill might get passed.
And it's just amazing. I just in not a very long period of time, how much traction you've gotten with Heal Loudly. And one of the things that you mentioned is something that I try to tell people all the time, is that your story is uniquely your story, clearly. But there are other people who are walking a journey that is similar to yours. When you look at it from a macro level, 30,000-foot level, clearly, the paragraph is, I was a victim of abuse at the hands of a narcissistic personality or narcissistic sociopath. And after 9 months, busted my life up and I have to almost lose everything in order to gain anything back. So although your story is unique to that, it isn't unique to other people who may have also been abused this way. And telling your story and being out there loudly speaking your story, crying it from the rooftops, is a way to teach other people exactly what I just said. And it's also a way for them to share their story with you so that there may be a little tweak in there that's something you didn't know that they went through and you can learn from their experience. So this whole concept of speaking out, speaking loudly, using your voice, using the power of and momentum of Heal Loudly and Care Coalition is a great way for folks to be able to implement and initiate real change, real positive change, like you're doing in the Florida legislature. So that's a lesson. I mean, you said it perfectly, and I hope that a lot of people hear that loud and clear coming through your voice, because that is the underlying message here, as far as I'm concerned.
But I'm so proud of you because you took this on pro se and you have done some amazing work and you have shared so much with me off screen. And I know because of current courtroom situation that you can't say things specifically, but can we talk a little bit about what you have gone through in the past with all of the multiple court cases, how the system does not support us? It is not in our favor. I I hate that you've gone through this, but the court system also failed me. And to hear that, it is here again, somebody else that it didn't, represent the way that it's supposed to. Lady Justice is not, equal on the scale. And for you to have gone through what you've been through and to find out some of the things that like I had no idea about, like with Zoom and things of that nature, would you share some of that with us?
Yeah, and definitely it's a nightmare that so many people are facing because when you get out of a narcissistically abusive relationship, your brain is not working right. And I'm 3.5 years out of it, and I still deal with CPTSD daily. I have days that I'm very low functioning because the trauma that I've gone through is so severe that sometimes my brain doesn't want to reconcile it. So when I ended up leaving Florida, it was December 15th, 2022. I showed up at my mom's house. Within 10 days of being there on Christmas, my abuser ended up letting me know that the state of Florida was pressing charges against me for battery. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And towards the end of my time in Florida, I had made a phone call from work. It was a noise complaint trying to get a police officer to come to the house anonymously, because I needed to talk to someone and to let them know that what was going on. And I got stuck on 95, and my abuser ended up intercepting them, telling me that, that he told him to go away, nothing was wrong. But in reality, I didn't find out until Christmas that there was charges pressed. And then it was another 2 months after that till I got the discovery and I saw the police dash cam. And it's the first time that I really saw him, behind the scenes, what he was doing. And it was terrifying because I couldn't articulate what I went through. I sounded crazy. It was all fragmented. And I tried to call the police. I tried to make police reports. I tried to go to mental health hospitals, and everybody turned me away. The only thing they saw was a 6'5" man, you know what I mean, talking about being sexually assaulted, about being drugged, about, all my property being stolen. So, I had everything I've ever had in my life, my baby book, like everything was held as leverage to keep me quiet about the abuse. And then the other part was now I have these charges hanging over me. So I lost my home, I lost my community, everybody was turned against me. And so what am I supposed to do? I had no control over anything. So I started writing poetry, and that's all I could do. And I started documenting in real time on TikTok exactly what I was going through. And it was messy, it was raw, at times I was angry. I just wanted to show the world this is what this abuse does. And when I went to court, I would always document it. But so the criminal trial had so many inconsistencies in it. And why Broward County? And I will say Broward County, Florida. I still don't understand the process, because if you look at the dash cam video, the story changes like 4 times. And that's the thing with narcissists. They don't remember what they said 2 minutes ago. They're saying whatever they need to in the moment to get a win, regardless of the truth. And so there was just a lot of inconsistencies. There was supposedly a video that would caught the assault on tape, but yet no video surfaced. I was accused of setting up a murder-suicide scene, breaking into home security systems, sending people to rape them at night, neighbors chasing me away. And the entire time that they're claiming all these things, I'm not even in Florida. I'm in Illinois, but they still brought that in front of a judge. So thankfully that day, I also had a civil trial for a restraining order, which I won, and my abuser never showed up to court. He sent his boyfriend at the time, and I thankfully fought that off. And there's been 9 other restraining orders that have been tried, and I keep getting them kicked out.
Wait.
But
Let's stop. Let's stop here and pick this apart because we're getting
there's
really.
a lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot. So I'm going all the way back. So you made a phone call to the police or to somebody for protection and protective services to come and hear you out. You get
Well,
stuck in
I
traffic.
made it. I made an anonymous noise complaint just in case if he found out, so I could try to talk to the cops away from. I didn't want my name to be in the 911 record.
Okay. And you wanted somebody to come to your house to talk to you about the abuse that you were experiencing,
Yes.
which in and of itself had to take some courage to get to the
Lot of
point of a
courage.
phone call, right? And I'm not going to just gloss over that, but I'm just trying to follow the bouncing ball here. You then got stuck in traffic, and he met with whoever the representative from the police department was, and didn't say he was you, did he? I mean, or did he just all of a sudden start waxing poetic and making up these crazy stories that you were the abuser, etc.?
So in the police dash cam footage, you see the sheriff go to the door and knocks on it, and he identifies himself and asks my abuser, if everything's okay. And he's like, "Oh, you're here because of the assault." And he just went right into making up this whole thing about the assault. Now, he did tell them that I smashed his phone and I smashed his laptop, which if I did something, I will admit to it. I did smash his phone and I did smash his laptop. That's because of what I found on it. And what I found on it
Years. Disgusting.
what, what I found on it is the whole basis on why the charges were brought up against me, why my property was taken in possession to keep me quiet about. And I'll say this every day for the rest of my life, and I don't care. It's the truth, and it's there was material on his phone, and I'm trying to find the right wording for it, of videos involving minors that were really horrific. And during the relationship, in the middle of it, I had caught on his laptop some questionable material, and I asked him about it. And he told me he was an informant for Broward County, and he was working in Zoom rooms busing pedophiles. Now, I'm being gaslit at this time. I'm very tired. Every tactic you can think of to break someone down is happening. I'm not getting sleep. I'm being woken up in the middle of the night. He's absolutely just making it so I can't think at all. So I kind of believe it, and when I saw the material on his phone and not on his laptop is when I knew that he was lying. And at that time, I found dozens of videos because he puts hidden cameras up into my home to videotape all the abuse, which was being put on Zoom for people to consume, and in the gay culture, gay men will do drugs and party, as they say, and go into Zoom rooms where they, have a whole bunch of people in there. And in some of these Zoom rooms where you have that kind of material that they consume, one person will share that material and everybody will watch it. So because I knew about this and because I saw this, I smashed his phone and laptop. And that's what I was trying to get help from the police with. And he intercepted it. And to this day, I handed over phones, SIM cards to the Belleville Police Department, specifically to Sergeant Keys at the Belleville, Illinois Police Department, and Brian from the Illinois State Attorney General's office. They said that they sent it down to Broward County, and I haven't heard anything, and nothing's come about it. And the stuff that's on that phone is horrific. I saw it, and the Belleville Police Department saw it, and yet there's still no action on it. And I just don't get that. No matter how much evidence I brought to them, they still have not done anything. So it's just.
So during the course, so now you're telling me that you called the police because you wanted them to come and get this computer and cell phone that you had smashed?
No, when I called the police in Florida, it was just to talk to them. I had 7 suicide attempts at that point. I knew something was wrong. I called my dad a few days later from Texas to come get me, and he took me to Texas with them to try to get away from Frankie. Oh, and I just said the name, and I
You
shouldn't
can't say
have.
the last name. You're okay.
We can't say the last name. But so when I got up into Illinois and got away from him, because I went back to Florida foolishly around Thanksgiving, and I thought we were going to go to rehab, and that didn't happen. So I went to go stay with my mom. When I got up there and found out about the charges being pressed against me and all my property being held as leverage, I knew I had no other choice. And so what I did is I contacted the Illinois State Attorney Generals and made a tip to the exploited missing children's hotline, and that's how that all came about. And late February, early February, excuse me, is when I gave the phones over and stuff and made the police report with the content and stuff that was on it. So that was my last effort to try to have something happen to intervene, because they weren't listening to me about the abuse that went on, and I needed to find a way to try to protect myself. And
So
that was,
that was your effort. That was your last ditch effort to try to get some help for yourself. You had somehow gotten his phone and his computer and turned it over. So after this phone call and after the police show up at your place, and instead of interviewing him, instead of interviewing you, they wind up interviewing him, correct?
yes, and he pressed charges. And I just need to correct something real quick. The phone and the laptop were smashed in Florida. That happened in late October. And so, for the record, because it is really important, he had given me 2 phones when I left Florida because I didn't have a phone at the time. I needed to be able to get to my mom's house. Those phones didn't work because we didn't have SIM cards, and I never gave it back to him. So, having possession of those phones is what I turned in when I went to Illinois. And that's only I have to correct that because there's litigation currently in this latest round of restraining orders that pertains to that. So I want to make sure that's correct.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, especially if you get anybody that's cross-complaining and saying that you brought this phone over state lines. That's a potential issue, right?
Yeah. And the phones were given to me.
Right. So, so based upon this conversation that he winds up having inadvertently with the police department, I mean, obviously he then goes ballistic and starts turning accusations against you. The charges get pressed against you. Were you arrested and basically, fingerprinted and all that?
No, I wasn't. I was in Illinois, and so I got a lawyer, and they made an appearance for me and put in a not guilty. And by the time I went to Florida several months later, I was never arrested for it. I filed a restraining order that went to trial, and the day of the trial, they ended up dropping the charges. And I can't say the word nolle prosecutor or whatever, so the state declined to press charges. And now my abuser will tell you it's because he didn't show up to court. But the thing is once they have all the testimony, they don't need him to testify. He's already testified with the state attorney. They can go ahead and prosecute that. The reason why they dropped it specifically was of all the inconsistencies and the lies that were in there. There's no murder suicide. There's no proof of any of this stuff. All these witnesses they claim they had, none of it materialized. And the smoke and gun is, he said several times in the police dash cam video, I have video evidence. I had it recorded the assault. Well, where is the video? There's no video. There's none of this happened. I've never put my hands on anybody in my life, and I don't, I cannot even comprehend striking someone. It's such a violation of someone's body and their autonomy. And it's everybody that knows me knows that is not who I am. So that's one of the things about the Heal Loudly movement. It's like, I refuse to let anybody write a narrative about me. That's not true. I know who I am.
Right. You write your own narrative, man, So what happened? So now you got, and then you said after that you brought several restraining orders against him after that, correct?
Well, no, that day, it was July 10th. I won my restraining order and I never had to file anything else after
Oh,
that.
okay, good.
what happened after that is that his boyfriend started filing restraining orders. He tried to file 3 against me, and then my ex has filed another restraining order against me now that's been kicked out twice, and now we're currently still, and it's being reset now. So this is going to be, I want to say, the 9th overall restraining order that they've tried to get. And it's exhausting because, I mean, I wasn't in Florida for any of this. So I have to, last minute, I get served and I have to buy a plane ticket. I'm dealing with being homeless and trying to survive. And it just,
Yeah.
it's what abusers do is when they can't have proximity to you, they will find a way to still control you, and they will use the legal justice system to do that and accomplish that. They drain your resources, your energy, your time, and you start to become hopeless. And it's like no matter how many times I try to organize the documentation, all the violations. Yeah, I have over 150 violations of a restraining order that I have against him that they're not enforcing. So every
I was
time I
about
try
to
to,
mention. I wanted you to bring that up because I've seen your work, and I keep telling him how amazing he's done. He's doing everything pro se, and he everything that he's done, he's let me see, and I've read it. And you have such detailed documentation of all the violations that the defendant has done, and nothing has happened to him when you put it through the court system. Like they just don't care. They've done nothing, and you have it clear as day. It's not a probable. It is a definite. Here it is. Here's the violation, and they've done nothing.
there's been instances where he made an Instagram account and posted. There was a moment where in my house he had me write on the wall with marker all the things that were wrong with me. And then he stripped me down to my underwear and took photos of me. And he made an Instagram account and posted that all over the internet. The videos that he took of me trying to commit suicide, that he secretly set up cameras in my house, which he admits to setting up the cameras on police dash cam video. They're being put online. My mom has to see it. I have to see it. And the thing is what people don't understand is that every time you go to the police or you go here or you try to get help there, you're trying to organize this massive amount of text. It's traumatizing.
Yeah.
It just, you have to relive the trauma. And it's so difficult because a part of me almost wants to just let him have his little restraining order and but he will use that as an opportunity to try to say I did this, I did that, and I don't want him to have that power over me. And throughout all the litigation, not one allegation has been proven, and the allegations are just ridiculous. And it's just the problem with the family court system is they see the case in front of them now. They don't see the overall pattern. They don't see the other cases. And even when I put a motion into for judicial notice, and yet we're still here. And with all due respect to the system and here in Broward County, it's broken. It's like it should have never got to this. It should have been dismissed with prejudice. And it's like, stop filing this. But for some reason, that's just a system that we have. And the state attorney doesn't help. The police department doesn't help. They keep throwing it around from everybody. And it's like, at this point, victims lose their lives. They
Well,
give up.
I agree with you on that part. I mean, I really think that the the idea of making you fly from Illinois down to Florida for a restraining order, which is preposterous. I mean, you're pretty much restrained. Anyway, the cost of doing it, the nerves involved with it, the anxiety involved in it is daunting. It's certainly overwhelming. And the second point that you raised that's really something that Victoria and I beat up on all the time is having to retell the story over and over and over again. I mean, it's almost you have to relive it. It's, creating more of the PTSD that's already going on. And then not to be heard or feel like you're not being heard or being maybe in the wrong side of the system, I'm thinking, in terms of what the expectation of the system might be. It's exhausting, like you said. It's exhausting for you going through it. And I can't even begin to apologize enough for how many times you've had to go through that and continue to go through it.
It's
So,
not just that, it's when you're sitting there, the defendant is literally being fed psychologically. Like, I get to see him, I get to see his angst, I get to see his anxiety, I get to know I'm still getting to him. I get to see that, I'm stirring up all that PTSD again. And he's sitting there calm, cool, and, just enjoying the show. And you're like trying to stress this is happening and you are not doing what you are meant to do, and that is to protect me. And the truth is supposed to set you free. You're supposed to be able, and when you have all of the proof, and I'm here to tell you, I've seen it. I've seen his records. I've seen everything that he has. He is still currently in open, situations in the courtroom right now, so he's not being specific, but I've seen all of it. And it's not a he said thing. There is hard proof. There is just no question.
but,
And you're
but,
still getting the runaround.
well, but I thought he wasn't showing up for the hearings when you're there.
Well, he didn't show up for any, well, he didn't show up for the criminal trial. He didn't show up for the restraining order I got against him. He sent his boyfriend at the time
Really?
to file restraining orders and never showed up to support him. And in context to his boyfriend, I came down from Illinois to Florida to defend myself. I get on a plane to go back home literally that day. And then 2 days later, I get served again. And now 3 days later after that, there's another hearing. And it's like they filed it, boom, 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 boom. And it's like you would think that the judge would see this. And like, and I'll send over the petitions to you, Victoria, after. So it's saying what they're accusing me, and there's no basis and proof of it. And it's like, when you say basically what they're trying to do is attack the Heal Loudly movement and the work that I've done. And I stand behind the fact that survivors have a right to speak the name of their abuser, and that I can't be silenced. I can't do that.
So
And
are the restraining orders now based upon your work with Heal Loudly, or is it or are they saying it's you harassing him personally?
Well, I've never sent a text message. I've never sent a message. I've never sent a phone call. I've never sent anything. Since I left, I have no contact with him, and nor do I want any. I don't ever want to speak to him again. So there's no initiation on my end. But when I made my videos and I was healing loudly and I was documenting the court stuff and I was making videos and speaking on what I was going through, you know, they want to classify that as whatever they want to try to spin it as. But the thing is that only a very small portion of what I've done online even pertains to him. He claims that my books are about him. My books aren't even about me. They're not about me. They're about this abuse, and that's a mischaracterization that the record has to set straight, because it's like the Heal Loudly movement. Most of my videos are not about anything that I've gone through. And in the last 2 years, I haven't made videos like that because I made a conscious decision that this is what I want to switch into. I don't want to tell my story. I've already healed in front of everybody. I've already given everybody that. I don't want to keep reliving it, and just writing Voiceless No More, The Legal War on Narcissistic Abuse, was traumatizing. That book, towards the end of writing it, I really thought that I was going to have a complete collapse, because to be able to articulate what victims go, it's traumatizing. Reading the book is traumatizing, because you finally see this is what I lived through, and you got to take little bits at a time. So this whole process is really exhausting. So I don't like to talk about my personal details anymore. You know, and I don't want to talk about that. I've already done that. So with this and stuff, yes, but I don't make videos talking about it anymore, because I there's a bigger picture here. This is not about me. This is about raising awareness for other victims, because I'm not the only person that's going through this stuff. So many people are in these relationships and they are getting railroaded in court. Their trauma responses are being used against them. Reactive abuse, which I hate that term. It's a provocation. It's a fraud on the court. They poke and poke and poke and poke, and they keep you up, and they accuse you of things, and they mentally wear you down. And the moment that you react to being abused, they take a video or a recording, and they use that to show that you're unstable and you're crazy, and you're not. You're being abused. And it's the reality that so many people that are going through. The courts get used against them. If you have children, God forbid, the children are used as weapons to hurt the other parent. And it's just, it's a nightmare. And if you're a man, and women go through this too, but like men specifically, I can't tell you how many fathers that I've talked to that are going through the post-separation abuse, and their wives or girlfriends are withholding the children from them. They're saying that they're violent, this, accusing them of all sorts of things. And these fathers desperately want to be in their kids' lives. They love their kids. And in a society where so many kids don't have a father, these kids are being denied a loving parent that could take care of them. And guys don't really have a lot of support, because when you walk into a courtroom and you're a guy, and it's very easily for someone to say, oh, he's violent, and then they have a clip of
And
you
it's the
yelling or
duty of the
screaming.
court. I mean, it's the duty of the court to protect the children. So the first action is always going to be to say, okay, well, we have these outrageous allegations of abuse against the children, or in your case, we have this outrageous allegations of abuse one way or the other, back or forth. And the court's first obligation is to protect the victims.
Mhm.
But
And
they shouldn't re-victimize us. When we're sitting on that
I
stand.
understand. I'm trying to make a point about the process.
Mhm.
So therefore, the court cannot look at necessarily, cannot, and
Mhm.
understandably so to a degree, cannot look at the totality of the circumstances. They have to err on the side of caution and say, well, I need to hear this. I need to know what's going on in this specific instance, in that, in order to protect. And now,
Mhm.
to your point, I do agree that if you somehow, some way could wind up getting the same clerk and the same judge that's processing the same crap over and over again, you would think that there would be a discussion. And at some point, somebody would put in some kind of malicious prosecution complaint, or even file civil actions from your end or his end, and just get this thing defined and shut up once and for all. And I think that there's something to be said about what you had indicated before, is like, let him have his restraining order as far as it goes to you personally. You don't want anything to do with him anyway, right? But as far as it goes in terms of trying to shut you down and shut down your voice and shut down your books and shut down the work that you're doing with Heal Loudly, that's not what the judicial system is about. That's not what our country's about, even though every single day we're seeing more and more people being shut down. And the state of affairs that we're all in right now, and the horror that we're looking at coming out of the government, and the way that the government is shutting us down, is should be a stark reminder to how it comes home to each individual. The dad who can't see his kid, the mom who can't see her kid, the Daniel who can't try to help thousands and thousands of abuse victims by having a voice and speaking loudly about the abuse that people are going through. Because you're not being, as you say, you're not being specific. You're not trying to make this about you. You're trying to make this a macro level issue. And so as far as him not being able to, or for as far as him being able to stop that, I frankly, to me, it sounds like this is a civil issue that needs to be brought out in civil courts and disregarded. Have you gone down that road?
Well, I will say this, that is on the horizon, and I have no doubt that it's going to be a lot easier to navigate the civil aspect of it than the other side, because the evidence is not good at all for them. And the thing is one of the reasons why I want to be able to get this restraining order permanently kicked out is because it is bigger than me. The judge is not going to say anything on that stand that's going to make me do anything I haven't voluntarily and willingly done the last. I don't want contact. But the thing is that there's so many people that have been invested in what I've gone through and have followed this over the last 3.5 years. And it's like when I was able to get my criminal charges dropped and get the restraining order, it was a huge deal because most victims of narcissistic abuse don't even get that far. They get railroaded in court, and they're told to get over it and move on. And it's such a injustice. It's so hard to see, to go through this abuse, have all these institutions not help you, but then your abuser is out there pretending to be the victim and running that narrative. That flip of the script is it's such a hard pill to take.
But isn't
So
it part of it? I mean, isn't that part of what you're trying to, the message that you're trying to give to people, that this is one of the things that happens?
it is.
All right.
And it's like for people that are watching that, if I can do it, they're thinking, well, I can do this too. Maybe there's hope for me. And that's the thing is giving people hope, because nothing is impossible. Once there's precedent for something, then it's possible to other people to do it too. And people are dying. The Heal Loudly movement is like, I always say, we heal loudly because we almost died in silence. So many people don't survive this abuse, and there's so many people suffering through it. And if we can, if I can win this case or whatever, it's going to send a message to abusers everywhere and to victims everywhere that, you know what, we're going to protect your speech. We're going to protect you, and that's what's at stake right now is what message are we going to be sending to people that are watching this? And there's people out there that have been aspired, that are fighting back, that are finding their voice, and it's a wonderful thing, but this abuse is not going to end on its own. People have to speak about it. People have to go and fight in court and win, because once we get people to hear about it and to learn about it, we get judges more educated on it. We get lawyers. My lawyer didn't even know what I was saying. He said, "You're just crazy." No, like, how are you a lawyer and you're defending people and you don't understand this? Even therapists don't really understand this if they haven't gone through it. So the key to ending this abuse is education. And we have to do that by healing loudly. We have to share experiences. We have to find a way to get other people who haven't lived through it to try to understand it as best they can. And so people stop saying it was just a bad relationship. You need to move on and get over it. No, you don't get over trauma. You survive it. And surviving is an everyday thing. And surviving some days are absolutely painful. And everything that I've done has been to show people what this abuse is, and with the hopes that somebody out there doesn't have to go through 9 suicide attempts like I did until I realized something was wrong. You know what I mean? And when I think about all the people that did not survive this, it's like we have to heal loudly for them, because they don't have a voice, and we can't let them be forgotten because they died in a horrific way. And that's why everything I do is the Voiceless Justice Act, or Voiceless No More, because those people died.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about those particular pieces of legislation that you want to get through. And if you can get it through in Florida, man, kudos to you. Florida is very tough in terms of recognizing this type of, I'm just going to say, liberal, thinking in terms of how we treat victims and stuff. So what are the bases for these pieces of legislation that you've been working hard on? And do you have anyone in Florida who is behind you to help you champion these causes?
Well, so the petition is a national petition, and I don't have any legislative backing whatsoever. I know that this bill is extreme. This abuse is extreme, and it needs to be. I need to have professionals and other people look at this bill, pick it apart, put it back together. But the thing is that coercive control laws have been passed in certain places in the UK and Scotland and in Australia. There has been precedent where this kind of abuse there's laws on place. So in the United States, there are no laws like that. I think that my work is pretty extreme for a lot of people, but I think it's accurate. I think that some of the terminology is jarring. It's meant to be. Psychological homicide is something that's going to get challenged, but that's what happens. The truth is when somebody.
But I'm still not understanding what the basis of the legislation that you're proposing is. You're proposing state legislation, first of all.
No, it's a federal legislation. It's to make psychological abuse illegal and to be able to there's certain constructs within narcissistic abuse, like love bombing, should be an illegal act. It's fraud. If you look at fraud in business, it's fraud in real life. These people are creating a false persona with the intent to be able to gain access to you and then to be able to abuse you, use you, and take everything from you. So if you enter a relationship under fraudulent terms, how can you consent to that? You're not consenting to that. Somebody is creating a persona specifically to be able to gain access to you, get
Well,
all the information.
the first pushback I'm going to give you on that one is how the hell do you prove it and how do you enforce it? Those
It's
are
hard.
It's very
And
hard.
that,
Yeah.
and that
Okay.
that's the thing. This abuse is invisible and it's hard to prove. So that's why the idea of it, I believe, is really solid. And I think there's a lot there. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm just someone that's surviving it. But there's certain things like the Frankie registry that's part of it. I know that's going to get pushed back, and a lot of people are going to have a problem with it. Well, how are you going to make sure that you're protecting people from being on this list? That's for other people to try to figure out. But the truth is that there should be a registry for convicted psychological abusers, and we don't have one. How
Well,
we get there is
that's a long battle. As you know, the sexual offender registry took a long time, 20 something years to get that through. And you would think that, and I think that maybe now it would be more bipartisan with regard to the recognition of the need for that. But so these these concepts that you've come up with need to go to your senator or your state rep, or your not your state rep, your rep from your state in Washington, in order for them to even contemplate it and bring it and make it some kind of federal legislation for sure.
yeah. I know that my bill, as it is dead on arrival. I get that. Like I said, I'm not a legislator, I'm not a lawmaker. I'm just somebody that has survived this abuse. But the idea behind it has started a conversation that has not been had. Suicides because of narcissistic psychological warfare. I don't care what anybody says, it is homicide. When you deliberately do these actions to drive someone to suicide, there should be a law in place that holds that person accountable for that murder. We
Oh,
don't need to look at, and the same thing when people come out of these relationships and they have, CPTSD and all these trauma responses and a nervous system that doesn't regulate. When you hit somebody with a car and cause brain damage and cause issues like this, it's battery. So if you deliberately abuse someone so bad that they have these issues that compound them the way that they could take care of themselves for the rest of their life, that should be a crime. And that's the thing. There's no laws that protect survivors like this. So whether or not my law ever gets passed, I highly doubt that it would. But one day someone's going to take that idea and run with it, and somebody else is going to take it and run with it. And one day, the hope is that somebody will pass a law that's going to protect people. And I'm not trying to pass a law. I'm trying to start this conversation that has not
yeah,
been had.
that's what I was going to say. I mean, just starting this conversation has been magnificent, and we're so overwhelmed every day with the rate of suicide in our country, right? And it's like the number one cause of death, and ages so and so to so and so. Well, maybe that we should look a little further into the victim here, and why did were they being victimized? Were they being we look at bullying, right? And we're all up in arms about bullying. And yeah, here we've got two grown men, or a man and a woman, grown adults, right? Who are one of them's bullying the hell out of the other. And bullying doesn't have to be with young kids. And that's what strikes me. And you're right. You started the conversation, you've given the conversation legs. And I really hope and pray for you that there are legislators out there who are listening and can formulate in their brains a plan of action as to how that something like this could pass around. Because really what we're talking about is not victimizing the victim. I mean, geez, how many years ago was that old, I think it was a Jodie Foster movie where she was gang raped, and they made the whole movie, and the whole story was about this poor woman being railroaded through the legal system and made to be more of a victim by making her the instigator, or you wanted it because you wore the short dress. You guys remember that. I know I'm older than you, but it's not an uncommon theme. And don't, Victoria, smiling at me. So no, I think that you're right, that the conversation is what will get the legs. And it's gotten legs, man. You've done a great job as far as that goes.
Done an
Can't
amazing job. But I want to mention before we run out of time, would you, in an overview, Dan, tell people about what's going on in Zoom that I guarantee nobody has an idea about? This was so shocking that this was Zoom, which is what we are on right now.
Well, first off, like in my book, I was not going to discuss this, and there's certain
Oh, good.
details in my personal stories that I'd
It's
not really
called Voiceless
disclose.
No More, right? By Daniel Cotler.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
good.
Voices somewhere the legal war and narcissistic abuse. But so I call the encrypted predator networks, and I don't know how this works outside of the gay world. I just know what I know from the gay world. So Zoom is very popular for men who are partying, who are doing drugs at night, to go on Zoom, and we can see each other like we're seeing now, but there's less clothes and activities going on and whatnot. So music playing, and so you have regular Zoom party rooms is what they call them. Now outside of that, it goes
Darker.
darker, you know, and you have rooms that have child sexual material that's on it, and it's pretty horrific. And then you have even darker. And so what happens is that when a predator comes into your life and they try to take you out, murder you, overdose you, whatever the case is, and you somehow get them out of your life, you catch on to who they are, you chase them away, you get a restraining order, they go to whatever the case is, they're out of your life and don't have access to you. They use Telegram, Zoom, and Signal and all these other back end communication ways to trade intelligence on victims. So they will already have the victim's profile. They know the victim, they know their triggers, they know this, and they will pass it off to another predator who then enters the victim's life and shows up as everything you've ever wanted. They know your likes. They wear the same clothes as you, the same music as you. They want the same things as you. It's like you're looking at oh my God, I've been waiting my whole life for you. They already know everything about you. And by the time you realize that something's wrong, it's too late. And in my case, the first one that came into my life did overdose me, and it was pretty horrific. Videotaped it in my home without me knowing it, and that ended up on Zoom. And so this video has been circulated where people are they're they're jacking off, for lack of better terms, and partying, and this is what that they do it to. And there's other films of like snuff stuff, like it, it's just my brain just doesn't, it just does this, it's just
Yeah.
I
So
can't even get the
within
word.
a Zoom conversation, you can go into separate meeting rooms. You could have a meeting like this, but we could also set up breakout rooms and things like that. So I assume that that's what's going on, that they have various meetings,
Yeah,
social meetings, and then there's breakout rooms, and God only knows what's going on in the breakout room.
it's horrific. And it's the thing is that these platforms are being used to trade this information. And you think that you made it clear and you got somebody out of your life. And then now I always live with this fear. Every time I meet somebody, if they like me, or if they're shown to, I want, like, who sent you? Did somebody send you? Do you really like me? Why are you being nice to me? Are you going to try to? I don't think I can ever be in a relationship again. I don't think I can ever let my nervous system relax enough, because the last person that I held in my arms every night, despite the abuse and everything, was trying to get me to kill myself and would tell me, finish a job, Dan, for everyone. At least I'm not hated by everyone. And when he would say finish a job for everyone, I didn't get it. The job that I was supposed to finish was the one that tried to off me the first time. I was supposed to do it. He wanted me to, and for everyone, is because they were putting it on Zoom for people to watch it. It's like when you have that level of it's such a violation, and to think that that's what people are consuming, and that's it just
Hmm. Yeah, your
it
trust, your trust, it it will never be what it once was, you know, and
no,
that's
no,
hard.
not at all.
That's just
Yeah.
a, you know, so listen, man, I really hope that you wind up getting somebody to champion this effort and to or to re-educate people about the need for understanding and the need for a better way to prosecute cases without having this type of blaming the victim stuff come up. And I really appreciate you coming on here twice now and sharing this story and anything that we can do to, I'm volunteering us, but I'm volunteering myself for sure. But Victoria, I know, is probably even more fired up and in your corner than I am about this. So anything that we can do or I can do to help, I'm certainly interested. So thanks again for being here again
Thank you, Dan.
and keep it up. Keep it up, but don't let it kill you. Don't let it eat you up and try to
And,
trust again, you know?
and I just want to say one thing. I think that most survivors that through this, we all have the same question, and it's. I want to leave people with this: who's supposed to protect us? And it's been one of those questions that I broke it down so many times. It's like, who's supposed to protect me? Who's supposed to protect any of us? And when you don't have anybody there to protect, it's one of the most loneliest, one of the most painful. It's like everywhere you turn, that's supposed to protect you, no one does. And I think that's a question that so many survivors, unfortunately, are asking themselves. And I just want to leave that with people that are listening. Who is supposed to protect us?
Thank
That's
you, Dan.
a great way to say it. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.